In this video, we are going to be doing an overview of what many consider to be the best autocannon in the standard 3025 era of the game. Considered a heavy weapon, both in terms of its damage and weight, this particular cannon is a favorite among any mech warrior wanting to land clean hits at medium range and inflict real damage while doing so. A common sight in every weight bracket, and far from controversial such as its cousins the Ac2 and Ac5, this weapon system is feared by many during the Succession Wars, and rightly so. So let's go over the Ac10 Autocannon. The Ac10, much like its peers, is not a set weapon system in-universe, but described as a class of cannons that roughly equal the right weight, and all of them do the same damage for the purposes of the tabletop game. In-universe, these guns are all different, and have different ways of operating, and even have quality and sometimes damage differences. But in this video, it is about the cold hard facts of what is actually installed in the mechs on the tabletop. Though, as a final aside, the Ac10 autocannon ranges wildly in size, going from 80mm to 150mm, and can be automatic burst fire weapons, slow automatic shot weapons, or single shot cannons. The Ac10's closest peer weapon is the large laser, or perhaps the PPC. While it does more damage than the large laser and weighs more, they do have identical range brackets. The PPC, on the other hand, goes further and does the same damage. What's important as before is to take into account that the Ac10 simply generates very little heat by comparison to these weights, so despite weighing more and doing effectively the same damage, it generates less than half the heat of a large laser and 1/3 the heat of a PPC. 3 Ac10s on a single mech generate less heat than their stock heatsinks, whereas 3 PPCs would require 20 tons of additional heatsinks in order to filter away all the heat, meaning with these numbers, laser weapons will weigh approximately the same as the Ac10s if the weapons are being deployed at scale. However, the larger the number of autocannons, the more likely it is that they become a favorable weight total. The Ac10 is a 12-ton autocannon which takes up 7 critical slots. Critical slots are how many internal spaces it takes up in an area inside of a mech, and where something can be assigned to fit. When a mech takes a critical hit to that region, the space inside will determine what objects are available to be critically hit. If they take the hit, the entire system is disabled, or, for the purposes in the battle, destroyed, and cannot be made to function again during the immediate engagement. The Ac10 generates 3 points of heat when fired, making it run hotter than its smaller cousin the Ac5, but spending significantly less heat than its energy peers the large laser and PPC, as mentioned prior. The Ac10 also fires a single shot per turn, which deals 10 damage, and all of those points land in one region of the enemy target. It requires ammunition to operate, and every ton of ammunition for the Ac10 delivers 10 rounds of shooting for the system to use. The Ac10, like every other weapon in the game, has 3 range brackets that it can fire into. Range brackets determine how hard it is to hit with the weapon, barring other factors such as cover, movement, or other mitigating circumstances. Attack rolls are made by combining 2 six-sided dice and coming to the result. The standard gunnery skill for an inner sphere pilot, meaning the number you need to meet and confirm a hit, is 4. This means that if you roll 2d6 and get 4 or more when adding those values together, you have successfully scored a hit with the average inner sphere pilot, again, barring other factors. Knowing this, we can begin to examine the value of the Ac10 in full, in relation to this. The cannon can shoot up to 15 hexes at maximum range. Its short-range bracket is between 1 to 5 hexes, and inside of this radius, it suffers no penalties to hit regarding its range, as well as having no minimum range penalties either. Its medium-range bracket is between 5 to 10 hexes, conferring a +2 penalty to hit at this range bracket, and its long range is 11 to 15, resulting in a +4 negative modifier to hit at this range. Unlike our previous entries, the Ac10 lacking a minimum range makes it the first autocannon to land devastating strikes in close, stripping away armor in an up-close engagement. It also isn't as limited as its larger cousin, the Ac20, to very short-ranged battles, with enough reach to extend well past a medium laser and approaching the range of an AC5 or PPC. It's often the default heavy weapon of many ammunition-based designs because of its reach, and because it can hit hard in close, but also because 10 shots per ton of ammunition isn't an awful return on investment either. Best yet, it's cool running, allowing more room for other weapon systems to support it without needing an excess of heat sinks to do so. The Ac10 is the most versatile of the autocannons. While still maintaining heavy damage against mechs and tank targets, it also maintains having a reasonable range, and generally still has low heat output. In terms of ammunition-based, single-shot, concentrated damage-based weapons in 3025, it can be considered the king of the field. Suitable in almost every environment and suitable in almost any engagement across multiple ranges, and easily supplied by a reasonable number of shots per damage, it's hard to argue that the Ac10 isn't the top tier when it comes to autocannons. It doesn't make the Ac10 an invincible weapon by any means, though, as it has a series of weaknesses. Firstly, it takes up a large number of critical spaces, which means that in the case of a critical hit, it can be knocked out with a fair degree of certainty. Of course, it also bears the burden of being ammunition-based. Yes, this reduces heat, but it has 3 burdens associated with it: weight, ammunition dependency, and ammunition explosions, all of which have severe consequences. Some may say that the Ac10 weighs too much, but then quickly forget the weight of heat sinks for a large multitude of energy weapons. This, however, does not undo the fact that the Ac10 is a heavy weapon in terms of its weight. All in all, I personally think the Ac10 has far more virtues than it has weaknesses. It's a powerful weapon that can tear apart mechs at any weight class, stripping away armor and components as it hammers its target with relatively plentiful rounds across short and medium ranges, and even scraping the edge of long range, and it is no slouch. Allowing the mech to also carry a multitude of other systems by not being a heat pig also further enhances it, allowing systems to be added to back up the Ac10 without overwhelming its host mech's heat-sinking systems is a major factor behind the love which is foisted upon the already deadly Ac10. As with all weapons, it is imperfect, but to me, the Ac10 in 3025 is the ultimate autocannon. Thank you for joining me here today. If you enjoyed this content, please consider liking it and subscribing to the channel. There's also a YouTube member program that supports this channel as well, and I appreciate the support from members immensely. With that, I will catch all of you in the comments section below.